Rihanna built a beauty brand so strong, she was able to sell $600 million worth of makeup. And this was during a time when so many celebrity beauty brands failed. But will Fenty's success last for decades, or is it another beauty brand that will peak and fade over time? In this episode, we're breaking down Fenty Beauty and whether it's built to last. But to understand Rihanna's success, we first have to look at the unique partnership that made it all possible, a collaboration that catapulted the brand to global expansion. Chapter 1. The Influence of LVMH. Fenty Beauty was developed in partnership with Kendo Brands, a beauty incubator owned by LVMH Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton, the world's largest luxury group. In an almost 50-50 split of the company, Kendo operated as the brand's developer and wholesaler, while Rihanna served as a creative visionary and face. It's worth noting that Kendo has a history with creating and scaling beauty brands, with past successes including Marc Jacobs Beauty, Kat Von D Beauty, now KVD Beauty, and Ole Henriksen. But Fenty was its biggest bet yet. This partnership gave Rihanna instant access to LVMH's vast distribution network, world-class product development, and deep industry expertise, advantages most celebrity beauty startups could only dream of. While Kendo invested an estimated $10 million into Fenty Beauty, Rihanna contributed her own in-kind investment, meaning she didn't put in cash, but instead leveraged her name, influence, and direct involvement in product development and marketing. But Fenty's success wasn't just about a good business move. It was deeply personal, which brings us to Chapter 2, Filling the Industry Gap. As a Black Barbadian woman shopping for makeup, Rihanna routinely struggled to find foundation shades that match her skin tone, and she wasn't alone. Many women of color had long been ignored by the mainstream beauty industry. While there were some brands that offered darker foundation shades before 2016, including MAC, Bobbi Brown, and Tom Ford, they didn't put as much investment into having people of color develop these formulations or market them effectively. Many brands had one or two deeper shades, but they were often too red, too gray, or lacked undertones that worked for diverse complexions. Darker shades were also rarely stocked in stores, reinforcing the idea that they weren't a priority. Then came Fenty Beauty. The 2017 launch featured 40 foundation shades, making inclusive beauty the standard rather than an afterthought. This shift, known as the Fenty Effect, forced the entire beauty industry to expand their shade range to avoid backlash. But while this move from brands was a step in the right direction, many fans felt it was more performative than sincere. Suddenly, brands that had ignored deeper shades for years were scrambling to release extended ranges, not because they truly cared, but because they feared missing out on Fenty's success. So instead of celebrating these changes, consumers gravitated even more to Fenty, because for the first time, they felt heard and seen, not as an afterthought, but as the center of the conversation. Then came its quality and credibility, something both Kendo and Rihanna took seriously. Knowing it's not enough to just slap a name on products, Fenty recruited top industry experts to ensure the formulas delivered. James came on as a resident artist, while Priscilla Ono and Hector Espinal were named global makeup artists, adding professional legitimacy to the brand. But what really set Fenty apart was how it positioned itself, not just as an inclusive brand, but as accessible luxury. Chapter 3, Accessible Luxury for All. It can be argued that what made Fenty really different wasn't just its inclusivity, it was its positioning as accessible luxury. Rihanna strategically partnered with Sephora, making Fenty available both online and in stores. Not drugstore cheap, but also not unattainably expensive. It sat right in the prestige sweet spot, where the products felt like luxury, but were still within reach for everyday consumers. And consumers were ready. During the pandemic, interest in minimalist beauty skyrocketed, with Google searches for the clean girl aesthetic increasing by 400% between 2020 and 2022. The look prioritized natural, radiant skin, and Fenty's lightweight yet high-performing complexion products made it easy for everyone, regardless of skin tone, to achieve that effortless, polished glow. Fenty wasn't just selling makeup, it was selling inclusivity wrapped in aspirational, modern beauty at a time when the world was shifting towards self-care. But is this enough to sustain Fenty's momentum? Or is it just another celebrity-driven brand riding the wave? After launching with 40 foundation shades in 2017, Fenty Beauty rapidly expanded, introducing now 50 foundation shades, lip glosses, highlighters, which had its own name controversy in 2019, bronzers, setting sprays, and even a skincare line, Fenty Skin, in July 2020. The brand continued to push inclusivity forward, releasing a universal blotting powder and a diverse range of cream blushes and bronzers. But despite its product innovation, Fenty Beauty still heavily relies on Rihanna's celebrity power. With over 150 million Instagram followers, Rihanna's personal brand keeps Fenty in the spotlight. While this has been a major advantage, it also presents a potential vulnerability. Any controversy skin could jeopardize what they've worked so hard to build and sustain. So the real question is, has Fenty reached the status of too big to fail? Or is Rihanna still at the risk of being just another celebrity beauty brand that eventually fades? Make sure to comment below because I would love to hear your thoughts.